Cody's Cult Cinema Cast, home of the unwanted, the unloved, and the unappreciated. Welcome to the first remotely recorded one, which
Yes,
will
we
be fun
are
to learn.
not in the same room right now.
Dozens, if tens of miles away, kilometers.
Yes.
I'm
I
Kyle.
don't even think that's a... I'm Cody.
Yeah. You were saying?
I said I was just saying, I don't even think 10 kilometers is a mile. I don't know the breakdown of that.
It's like 1 point something kilometers to a mile.
Okay. So maybe 5.
I forget exactly
best.
what it is. This week we're reviewing Manos, in quotes, The Hands of Fate.
Yeah.
A little bit of a shorter movie
This
this
is
week.
an hour, 9 minutes in total runtime.
Yeah, a little bit
and
shorter.
And it was a grueling hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot of it that Act 1 and 2 really drag. And Act 3 is not great either.
And half of it's a musical score. Or a music score. I should say musical score.
Yeah, here's the first 9 minutes of the movie, people. They play 2 entire songs over the lead characters driving in a car. Yeah, they switch songs. Any other movie, that would be the point of the movie where they put the credits in, tell you who the actors are, but nope, just playing stuff. I mean, I don't think a
lot of it's really unnecessary exposition. I think they really harp on the fact that they're lost for like 10 minutes and
not like unnecessary exposition in the traditional sense, just like completely unnecessary exposition that is not relevant even directly to the plot.
No.
It's just like stuff you don't need to know.
It's set up. But it's not very good setup even.
No. I'll give you a little bit of history of the movie. Directed by Harold Warren. Yeah, directed by Harold Warren on a bet from one of his screenplay writer buddies. He did it. He had made a bet with a guy and said he could make a movie all on his own, and he won that bet.
At what cost, Kyle?
$20,000 US in 1966 money.
Okay.
Fun little thing. While I was researching this, they said, "Oh yeah, adjusted for inflation in 2019 money, that is $150,000, which is more than double the budget of Velocipaster." Yeah, this really tells you something about the nature of independent films, where even someone filming on their phone could make a more stable movie with this. The equipment the Manos people were using was absolute crap. It didn't record audio on site. It could only film 32 seconds at a time because it was hand wound.
Yeah.
Everything's dubbed in. They were shooting a lot of the night shots under spotlights, which they only had a certain number of, so they only had a certain amount of space they could act in. He gathers a bunch of members of a local theater group, and then they become his actors in this. The little girl is there's a little girl in the movie. I think she's gotten from somewhere else, but there's her, and then there's a dog, and her and the dog are the only ones in this movie that received any money for it.
Oh God.
Any profit. Yeah, they were the only ones that were paid. The rest of the actors were promised shares of the profits, which don't exist. Maybe the eventual DVD sales from this eventually got them the money, but I actually don't know that they're making money because this is public domain, I think.
It didn't get any form of cult following until 1993 when Master Theater 3000.
Mystery Theater 3K.
Mystery Theater 1000.
Yeah. MST 3K. That's where this movie really picked up. And then in 2011, they recovered the original film reel and used that to make the Blu-ray release, which is what you watch if you watch this on Prime Video, which I did. Which looks a good bit.
I got it off YouTube, so you're welcome. Have my $4.
He never made another movie, Harold Warren.
He also starred in it.
Yeah. Yeah, this was made famous by MST3K, who famously reviewed it on, which I did watch that MST3K episode, which nicely enough is Easter themed
Huh.
because there's chocolate bunny in it that they cut the head off.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, I did watch that because I had time to kill and pretty funny. It's not my cup of tea, but yeah, and that got me. I mostly watched it because I wanted to see what it looked like with the earlier footage to see if the film was a lot more grainier. It is a
Yeah.
fair bit more grainier. I do recommend watching this on Prime Video or something because does look way better. Doesn't look good, but yeah, that's the history behind that.
So when you're taking a movie like this, should you compare it to something that was coming out that was a little more relevant in 1968? What was coming out in 1968 that would be
6, yeah. But
1966?
I don't know. I was reviewing it on like kind of the premise of like an old drive-in flick, which this was.
Okay.
Yeah, this only ran in like it ran in like their local theater for a little bit, and was shown in drive-ins around Texas and New Mexico
Okay.
originally, but yeah, I've been reviewing it to like shot on Shidio movies and
Yeah.
uh
Home releases
yeah,
essentially.
stuff. Yeah. Well, yeah, these cheap little movies that people make,
Hmm.
which were very prevalent. This is especially bad because like a lot of these dubbed movies that were kind of popular in the time were like made in Italy or whatever. So it's like they're dubbing it from Italian, which this is an American film dubbed in English that takes place in Texas. I know. Oh, that's another story. One thing I found was when the little girl went to the premiere,
Yeah.
she cried because the voice coming out of her mouth wasn't hers.
Oh God.
Oof, yeah. I mean, and she was the one that got paid for this. She got a bike.
Just a
Yeah,
bite.
they weren't paid in money. She got a bike, and then the dog got a big bag of dog food.
That's awesome.
I don't know which dog for sure, because
Yeah.
there's 2 dogs.
There is 2 dogs.
Uh,
One dies very
I hope it
fast.
was the yeah. What I hope it's the poodle. I like the poodle better.
Well,
My aunt had a poodle.
R.I.P. Poodle, because I didn't catch its name.
But yeah, let's I guess get into the movie.
Yeah.
I told you we've told them a little bit about what happens. It's like cheery music as they're driving. It's dubbed. They're getting into an argument because they had been lost. I guess the kids get a little upset because they're in a convertible and she's cold, and they start singing "Row Your Boat" to cheer them up, and it's
Yeah.
badly sung and just my
In
God.
rounds, too.
Yeah. 2 minutes 30 in, they get the title card, and they're soon pulled over by a cop who's just breaking the Chekhov's gun rule like a motherfucker. Just absolutely.
He is the
They
most lenient cop I've ever seen. It's like your tail
yeah.
lights crashed out, and he's like, "I'm sorry, we're running late." And the guy's like, "Oh, well, we'll let you off with a warning." And then he returns a couple more times in the movie, but really he doesn't play much of a.
They return 3 times throughout the movie, or 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, but they don't show up in the finale like you were probably thinking when you were watching this.
Yeah, not at all.
Because normally, like, okay, here's a cop. We introduce him early on so he can come out later, and then Jason Voorhees can knock him in the back of the head with a hatchet or something.
Yeah.
But he doesn't show up again, or he doesn't show up in the finale. He doesn't contribute.
Nothing relevant. I like to think of it like this. This cop is good at 2 things. Giving explanations and cock blocking.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. So yeah, he gets talked out of a ticket. Yeah, this part of the movie is largely wasting time. There's several parts in this where they say things over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It brought me to the point where I had to look up the definition of a feature-length film because I wanted to know if they were holding to that 40, if they couldn't have made this a 40-minute movie or a 55-minute movie.
Yeah.
Or a 40-minute movie.
20-minute movie.
In this day and age. They really can't technically get away with it as a feature film at 40 minutes in this day and age. Or in that day and age. That's when movies were starting to get longer. No luck there. They couldn't. But I think there's like a 40-minute version of this movie that's not nearly as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could cut a lot out of this. It's just wasting a lot of time, which is weird because they rented these cameras and they're just
Well,
making.
it's weird because they rented the cameras and they're shooting at 12-second intervals. You'd think they'd be trying to expedite the process of, and maybe that's why they cut so weirdly, is to have continuity. Like maybe
Yeah.
they'd shoot longer scenes with a lot of explanation for continuity purposes. I'm not
Here's
too
the
sure.
thing. There's a lot of these. There's a lot of these like shot on shitty movies that are still shot okay if the
Mm-hmm.
if even if the equipment's not very good. Harold Warren just doesn't have any skill as a filmmaker. He doesn't know how to work with these constraints and get around them. Yeah, and he just doesn't know how to deal with this because other people must have used these cameras. Like this guy was getting away with renting them to him, so there must have been a way that he could manage this where it would work. Yeah, next we see the couple making out, and the cops pull them over, like come get them and stop them. What I learned about this is that the actress in this was meant to be one of the ladies from later,
Yeah.
but she broke her ankle or something.
Okay.
But they didn't feel like cutting her from the movie, so they just put her in the car and yeah.
Made her sit.
Yeah, they're making out and drinking. They
Drinking
point,
laws in
yeah,
the early 1960s were a lot more lenient than nowadays, I guess.
eh,
Drinking
not
and
really,
driving.
but it's drinking and driving. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a lot more lenient. They point out they've shown this after the family has driven up the road, and they use this scene to say, "Oh yeah, there's nothing up there,"
Mm-hmm.
just to symbolize that they're going somewhere they shouldn't be. Yeah, this movie's just so goddamn slow in the beginning.
Very slow
Like
paced.
we're telling you what happened, but this is like a 20 to 30-minute process to get this far. It's really dumb. So yeah, there's just like a pause between every line because it's dubbed and it's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
This is the dad's. We're getting a little bit of characterization for them. The dad's a bit of an asshole, but maybe this is just the '60s and this is just how dads act.
Yeah, or maybe it's lost in between the dub version and the actual script.
Yeah, I imagine that did. There could have been some changes there, I suppose, but who's to say? Yeah, and he did. Harold Warren is on record as saying like this could maybe be redubbed, maybe could have been redubbed as a comedy. He obviously didn't go that route, but
I
I
think I
mean,
would have
I don't.
preferred that.
I mean that's putting good money after bad. It's just like I don't think it would
Yeah.
have gotten him anywhere. But yeah, the dad's a bit of a dick in this. And the family's just really dumb in general. They don't
Yeah.
have.
But I mean, I guess you're not exactly paying for all-star actors when you only have,
Yeah,
you know, X amount of budget. So,
yeah. Which though he's not paying for actors, so there's
okay.
he gets what he pays for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess,
I mean they're
right?
just they are a theater group, but it's community theater probably. So
That's not great.
they start turning around. They show the full K turn, or the T turn that the dad does. Just they show every movement of this car. Yeah, this is. I think I gotta get to this because this is. There's something to be said about like building suspense, but no, it's not building suspense. It's just doing nothing, which is a lot of a lot of bad horror movies make this mistake where they're just like building tension, but they're not. They're just doing shit for no reason, just to make the movie longer.
Or
Um,
unexplained world building, where they're
yeah,
introducing random characters that really don't play any part in the movie in itself, right?
yeah.
So,
They could have been they could have been doing character building in this.
yes, they could
They
have.
could have been Yeah,
I,
they could have been building up that the dad loves his family and they do anything for him, and that would have been thematically appropriate for the end of the movie. But they're
yes.
not because they don't know anything because he's just like a lawyer or something, Harold Warren.
He's actually a fertilizer salesman, according to Wikipedia.
They find themselves in a building with a that just mysteriously appears after a while. They're greeted by a man with a pretty wicked hand-shaped staff.
Yeah,
I'll
that
give
was
this movie
cool.
this. The props aren't too bad in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, none of it's too advanced or too expensive, but it is decent props. If nothing else, like, they got a hand prop that looks pretty good later in the movie. The costumes, I guess, are okay if not
Yeah.
used properly. They do make like original paintings for this. They make like busts for shrines and whatnot. It
Mm-hmm.
looks decent actually. Costumes aren't too bad in this. Not like they have a lot of to do, but I'll give it this. It gets that little point for me, I guess. Certainly seen worse. Yeah, it's just like we find out the guy's name is Torgo. He keeps look at the he keeps a look after this building while the master is away. So apparently we're in a Doctor Who episode. So I mean, there's not really any danger. I guess I don't know who's the Doctor in this era. Probably.
I think that's probably one of the better.
Although they're time travelers, it could just be yeah. They could just anyone of them could do it. William Hartnell would be
Yeah,
doing it. Yeah.
I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who.
I've seen like some of it. I've been meaning to watch a couple episodes.
I think if I were to sit down, and I'd watch like the Matt Smith and the David Tennant, but that's like newer stuff, and it's been around for 40 or 50 years. So
I've wanted to watch. There's one Dalek storyline that I'm really excited for. That I think the fifth Doctor does. I don't know. We're avoiding the subject.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's easy to avoid this subject because
There's not much going on.
no. And I'd like to point out this has a 1.9 rating on IMDb. I don't know how low the score goes.
Yeah, 1.9 on IMDb. It's apparently got 0 on Rotten Tomatoes for
Oh,
all that
Jesus.
means. 40% of Google users like the film, but that's a lot of ironic likes. Yeah, he protects the place while the master is away, which this really sets off how dumb the characters are.
Mm-hmm.
They should be turning around. It's like if you go to a place and it's like, hey, we'd like to stay. And it's like, oh yeah, just let me ask permission from the Dark Lord of the Sith, and we'll get we'll just see if there's room in the torture pits. And like, yes, we'll go there, stay there. And it's like this is the worst kind of suspicious.
Yeah.
You drive all night to get away from these people.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like and they're talking about it's getting dark, it's daylight, it's like broad daylight in this scene.
It wasn't even like late evening, like it was like mid-morning.
Harold Warren was apparently hoping that we just wouldn't notice. He's going from the Hobbs and Shaw school of that, where you can just start things at whatever time you want and scenes can end however you want. It's funny, I compared a $100 million movie to a $20,000 movie. And
$150,000
Oh, yeah.
I've never even watched a Fast and Furious movie.
Oh, they're fun. I didn't like the one I just referenced, Hobbs and Shaw, because it's...
I think that would be the only one I would watch.
The climax starts at night,
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the day, and then the next scene is like broad daylight, and they end in like a dark cave where things are, or like a dark pit where everything's raining on them. So it's like 3 different time periods throughout this. Couldn't be longer than a couple hour long fight, but it's just like so. But yeah, they're just saying he's just like, oh, geez, we gotta stay, and she's like, yeah, stay. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just leave. This is the most dangerous situation you could be in. This isn't like, oh, it's just them being hillbillies or something like that. The guys who would stay at like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house did not have as many red flags as these people.
And on top of that, this guy's a dick to Torgo. It goes from, oh yeah, we'll stay at your random murder house. Go get my bags from the back of the trunk. Like,
Oh yeah, he's just super rude to this guy who's letting him stay here, presumably for free.
yeah, exactly.
They never discuss payment.
No.
And this is an inconvenience. Torgo says that the master doesn't want them here. They
Mhm.
change their mind eventually, but it's just like, obviously.
I mean,
Uh,
Torgo's kind of a creep, so
he doesn't put down his stick through this. He
no.
carries the bags holding his staff and everything.
Mhm.
Which I wouldn't want to put that thing down anyway. I'm with him on this. That's an awesome staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he helps with the luggage too, which is another thing. He's
Yeah.
just so helpful. And then they wake him in the middle of the night later in the movie when they actually do decide to leave. It's like, oh yeah, go get the luggage for us that we're waking you up in the middle of the night. It's like, this isn't a fucking hotel. You're in this guy's house. He is doing you a favor. You're maybe slipping him a tenner in the end of the night because this is 1960 and money doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a creepy picture there of the master. He is a palish man with a mustache and like a big cloak.
It's a really cool cloak in the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's not a bad cloak. The props are decent in this, like we've said. Yeah, it also shows a picture of the other dog in this movie, who's a big black dog, who's very scary looking.
Probably a Doberman.
Torgo kind of walks like a stop motion model. He just,
Yeah.
which I guess can be a result of an injury. I really shouldn't be making fun of this.
No.
But yeah, he points out that the master is dead, but that he also still knows what's going on. And this is clearly some sort of religious cult, which
Mhm.
I know this was a thing in the 60s now that I'm thinking about it. Like Jonestown or something has got to be 1960s. Is this really
exactly.
not public knowledge? Maybe this is meant to be said a little earlier, but there's no indication of that.
Early Scientology probably would have been a thing too.
I think it's a little early. I don't know. But yeah, they hear some toward the night. They hear some howling, or not from the dog, but from outside, and it's really spooking the wife. So the husband goes to go check it out, and at that point, as he's going to check it out, the little poodle runs out like a little shit and runs out through the door and gets lost. And as we find, the dad goes to his car, gets a flashlight and a gun, which he was keeping in the damn lockbox. Which maybe this is Texas.
Yeah, it is.
I just realized this is Texas. This is probably fine. What are we thinking? We're thinking with our Canadian brains, where you're not supposed to be carrying around guns in your glove box.
I just thought of it like this. This is early 1996 or 1966. I'm assuming everybody's packing. Well, there's no phones, right? How are you supposed to call 911? You need to protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets the gun with a flashlight and a flashlight. And I guess this is good for this, but in this situation, so better have it than not need it. Yeah, the dog gets killed. He shoots around a bit. The bad cuts are starting to become really obvious at this point. I don't know, it's maybe the night shooting that really bugs him. And though earlier in the movie there was a scene where you could see the clicker.
Oh?
Yeah, the thing. Yeah, to signify what scene you were looking at.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too, but it is there. I've seen the clips of it. Yeah, we were spared the child bawling her eyes out at her dead dog, thankfully. Though God knows he already, ignored that broken tail light so that he didn't have to listen to his kid whine about not going on vacation. So this is a terrible end to this day.
Yeah, this is not a very good
wife talks
family vacation.
No. Terrible vacation. The family's committed to leaving now. This is the part where he was very rude to the cultist about not wanting to stay. Yeah, we reveal that the master has a crush on the wife, and so does Torgo, and it's very gross.
It's very
The car won't start. Yep, the car also won't start. And while the dad's messing with the car, Michael is messing with the car, Torgo is trying to reach out and rub at her shoulder, the wife's shoulder, and it's just not. It's a very awkward scene, and it's badly acted too. Like she's
Mm-hmm.
reacting to something that's like a lot more violent than it necessarily is displayed.
Yeah.
And I think there is a sense that he thinks that Warren had an idea that this was going to be more violent and
Mm-hmm.
more racy than it is, so it doesn't match up. But
No, not at
yeah,
all.
no, it's like he tried to like he was still being like really out of line. I want to be clear about that,
Like,
but no, it's just
and Torgo
acted wrong.
Torgo seems to have some form of palsy in his hand, and he's reaching out to
Yeah,
this woman, and she's like, "No, don't do that." And I'm like, "Well, back up like half a step. it
yeah,
it's taking too long. You've been doing this for too long, anyways."
he's clearly got some physical disabilities, maybe some medical issues, which is
Mm-hmm.
maybe where the master picked him up. But
Yeah,
he's jealous of the master because he's got so many wives and he doesn't have one. And he's
yeah,
like, sure,
6 wives.
he wants yeah, he wants the wife as his own, but she doesn't obviously want him, and obviously that's very mind controlling and rapey, very Jessica Doan's rendition of Purple Manny. Torgo says he will. Torgo says he will protect her, but the wife eventually manages to shoo him off, slaps him, which is a very weak sounding slap effect.
All the slap effects in this movie are really badly done.
Yeah, yeah. None of them have like a very satisfying sound behind them. Michael comes in and asks for a phone. He reveals there's no phone, and the nearest phone is 10 miles, which they'd have to walk in the middle of the night with clearly
Mm-hmm.
dangerous wild animals out. So
Yeah.
they do end up staying the night. But yeah, the master's changed his mind about them staying because he wants the wife for himself.
Mm-hmm.
They're arguing about, yeah, the mom and the dad are arguing, and the kid just wanders the fuck off while
Yeah.
they're talking. You get to zoom in on them hand holding, which is maybe their attempt at foreshadowing and just like him telling them symbolizing their love. Yeah, the kid eventually comes back pretty quick with the master's big dog, which they eventually shoo away and get the kid. And the kid's
Okay.
voice acting is very bad quality.
So
Yeah.
I want to talk about the scene here because the dad goes, "Oh, she's probably just playing hide and seek. Why don't we go look for her?" They split up, and throughout the scene in this main room, there's been a door behind them and a door beside them. And so he goes to the front door, tries to open it, and he goes, "Well, it's bolted," and goes to the next door, and she tries to open it, and she didn't succeed in opening it, did she? Like
Recall,
I'm
but
pretty sure she opens it up like a fraction of a second, and then closes it really
yeah,
quickly, and was like, "I can't get in through this door either." And I'm like, "You just opened it."
that's yeah. I'd buy that. That's an effect they're trying for, and the
Yeah.
actress opened it by accident because you don't need
Mm-hmm.
to lock the door. You just need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the wife is yeah. They talk to the kid, tell her to never run off again. Um, Torgo walks over to the shrine. He talks shit to the master's first wife, who's
Mm-hmm.
a fairly important character. She, yeah, we'll talk about her a little later. Torgo is staring through the window and catches the wife taking her clothes off just to the underwear. Warren did initially want a topless scene, but the actress turned him down because of course she did. You don't drop that on people on a day of filming. You gotta pay for that shit up front.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
I would like to talk about how this scene actually transpired because Warren, or Michael, because he acts as both in this, writer, and he stars in it. Um, he says to his wife, "Go into the other room and barricade yourself in there," and she doesn't do that at all. She doesn't like put a dresser in front of the door or anything. Um,
yeah.
and then at this point in time, she's like, "Well, I'm barricading myself in this room. He didn't give me a gun or anything. I'm just stuck in here by myself." And then she's like, well, time to change into my PJs randomly.
Yeah, she stays in them, which is
Yeah.
weird. She
If
never
somebody
puts
tells
on
me,
regular clothes, even when.
here's my kid and here's me, go barricade yourself in the room, my first process, thought process isn't to, pajama party it up. It'd be like, okay, let's defend ourselves, right?
Yeah, he's making his attempt at sex appeal, which he can't pay for because this is a theater group and not. He wasn't able to pay for nudity, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. We'll talk about this here. He clearly wants to make something in the line with these cult films of these low budget drive-in films of the time, but he doesn't have any of the assets they did. He doesn't have the gore effects. He doesn't have the nudity in it at all. So anything you might be going to those for, you're not really finding here because
No.
he doesn't have that.
Or a good storyline.
Yeah, though a lot of those didn't have great storylines either. So the cultist. Torgo managed to knock out the husband. He is slowly dragged away and tied to a tree. Torgo doesn't keep the gun. He finds it,
No,
tosses
he
it away. He
doesn't.
doesn't keep the gun or the flashlight, which he leaves on, which has a good battery life apparently because it picks it up like a half hour later. We now see the master awake, and he stares into the camera and gives his thing. We get another thing in a couple's making out, the cops again. This is all pointless. They don't do anything. The master calls upon Manos, which is the source of his power, I guess. I guess there's a bust of Manos there. He instantly looks annoyed with the wives that he's awakened. So this isn't even like he's enjoying having 6 of these women that they aren't totally his slaves.
No.
Like they have
Well,
free will to some extent. They maybe still love him, but not, or love quotation marks, heavy quotation marks.
mm-hmm.
They're like they still want to keep him around, but they're like, oh, I have mind controlled them into being like my stereotypical sitcom wife that we're always annoyed with. Which is, I don't know, maybe that's what he wants.
These guys are like gargoyles too. They come out on only at midnight. They only wake during the night.
Yeah, I guess that's the idea. I don't know what the full deal is. The women are they're
they
implied to be some
moon
sort of
too.
undead. Yeah, they're implied to be some form of undead.
Do they come out only on full moons?
I don't know. It's not stated.
Because yes, but Warren he's doing the same thing that Brandon Steer did. He shows a full moon, and I don't know if that's an indicator that it's night, or the full moon has some form of special effects adding to the movie.
Yeah. The wives are all pissed about the child and the woman being there, particularly the child. They're arguing about whether or not to kill the child. The first wife, who we were talking about, is arguing not to kill the child.
And this scene, I don't know if it has something to do with the dubs or if it has something to do with the the acting situation, but they continually put over top of itself the same lines.
Yeah.
If you didn't notice that, you can constantly over and over again.
Yeah, it's just really unnatural. They don't have people talking over each other at all, which is weird. And the wives are arguing with the kid. They break into a cat fight. They're all clearly wearing just modern underwear and whatnot. It's meant to be sexy, but if this was a proper X-rated drive-in movie, they'd all be like not wearing pants or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's some of these are models, but I don't think I certainly don't think he's hiring strippers or anything for this, but which would be something a lot of drive-in movies did.
I feel like strippers would ask for a pay.
Yeah, that might be the thing. Actually, you need to pay people up front for stuff. Yeah, that might be a big obstacle for him if that's what he wants. But yeah, it's just not competing with like other stuff in this sphere of filmmaking. Like it's not doing the brash, abrasive things that a lot of this drive-in culture is getting.
Especially in the early 60s when drive-ins were really popular.
Getting a lot of biker movies and whatnot. And Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
Torgo's going a bit Starscream here. He's trying to he's trying to convince the master to let him have the wife. He's not having him. Manos it gives him a speech and is telling him to he's giving him a speech and is telling him about how he's doomed and everything, and then we see the master raise his arms and we see the whole majesty of the cloak, and it hides Torgo behind it. This doesn't mean anything. He doesn't die for a little bit yet, but my assumption is that Torgo has to follow the master's orders. It's just weirdly done. Like he's not a movie that was thinking hard about this would make Torgo resist somehow, and it's just like seems like there's a couple scenes after this. They should have been before this, maybe, or
Yeah.
maybe he should have had this conversation. Oh, here's what they should have done. He should have confronted Torgo at the altar thing. The wives pin Torgo down on the pedestal, and then as the wives move in to kill him, he raises the cloaks and we don't see it because he's doing a big thing. And maybe if you had the money for it, you turn the camera around and you see them putting knives into him and stuff or whatever. I don't know. As it
Something a
is,
little more
they just
gory.
kind of which he doesn't have
Slap
the
him to
money for.
death.
But as it is, yeah, they just kind of massage him to death and
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, and he doesn't really die from it. He just eventually gets burst into flames, and the master
Mhm.
takes his hand in a prop that looks actually pretty good.
I'd like to talk about that scene right there for a second because maybe it happened a little different between the two different copies of the movie, but from my understanding, the master took his hand and grabbed this center burning altar that they had there, and it exploded in flames.
Yeah,
Did that not
yeah.
happen in your movie? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that happened.
Okay.
That did. Yeah, no.
So I'm
I was
just
I guess I was
making
just
sure.
saying it weird. The husband is tied up, and the first wife finds him and makes out with him a little bit. The husband doesn't wake up, so there's that.
And then she
So
starts slapping him. They've got this weird
yeah,
slap thing
she
going on for
slaps him to wake up,
still
and
doesn't
then she
wake him
runs
up.
off.
Here's my issue with it. So when they showed Michael getting knocked out, um, Torgo sneaks up behind him with his walking stick, but he doesn't hit him over the head or anything. It's just a little whack to the back, and he falls down, and he's unconscious apparently. The force of the hit does not look like it would knock him out for any long periods of time, or not enough that somebody slapping you wouldn't have revived you.
It's not shot properly, or he couldn't get the shot he wanted. One of the two. Yeah, we cut to the mother. She is pleading for Mike to return. This is the weird part. Torgo, the stuff I talked about Torgo dying still hadn't happened yet, and it happens after this. And then the disobedient, his wife gets killed, and she gives him a thing about how he's losing his power and how he will be God will come for him or something like that. And it means nothing. Yeah, they die to the ritual, and you get this question of whether they're even in danger because they're just not doing anything threatening toward them. There's no knives in this movie or anything like you normally expect to hold up to people's throat or anything. Yeah, they just have the one gun in this entire movie,
Which they only shoot I think 4 times, maybe six in the end.
yeah. They only really go through the revolver the
Revolver
yeah,
clip.
they only go through one clip.
Which is kind of good, because I don't know how much budget they actually had towards props, and I don't know how much props guns cost at this day and age. Blanks are, I'm assuming, pretty expensive.
The gun
I'm not too sure.
The gun doesn't look fake. It looks fairly real at least. But yeah. I don't they do fire off some smoke, so it's who's to say what the deal is there for sure. I'm not an expert on this stuff. Yeah, Mike gets out on his own. He just struggles out pretty quickly. He doesn't have to like cut the ropes or anything. And yeah, he picks up the gun and the flashlight that Torgo and the first wife just left behind.
Oh, so that's a whole
Yeah, it's really,
continuity error. Oh,
but yeah, it's
okay,
really
I
just
see what you're saying now. Like,
yeah. They knock the gun. Yeah, Torgo knocks the gun out of his hands and then doesn't take it away. He just leaves it there, which is really dumb. Like even
well,
if
the
you
first
had
wife's
to,
on the altar right now, right?
yeah.
Okay, so
But
maybe
this
it
is
was
a yeah.
the.
She doesn't let him. She doesn't let the husband out. He gets out on his own. So
Okay,
that
so
was
the newest
pointless. That
wife.
scene.
I think we are messing up the wives here. Actually, so the first when you say the first wife, that's the blonde lady attached to
Yeah.
it, or is that the last wife?
No, so that's the first wife they mention.
Because
Torgo
there's one
mentions
on the
that.
altar, and she's blonde, and then the black haired one is the one that was making out with Michael.
Was it her?
Yeah,
I
I
got
think
that
so.
mixed up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to
yeah.
remember. This is hard to keep track of. But yeah, the first wife is the one that's kind of trying to side with them or whatever, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And she's Torgo makes a point earlier that the master's getting tired of her, and that he doesn't want her either, which is okay.
I'd like to bring up the fact that about Torgo that we kind of overlooked, but like the master said to Torgo, "I know what you are doing, and the wives know what you are doing to them when we are asleep." So he's like,
Ugh.
yeah,
Yeah,
like really
that's
creepy.
yeah. I forgot to take a
Like,
note of that. Yeah, that is. I do remember that though. Yeah. Ugh.
yeah, like coming to the altar when they're asleep and like trying to not gonna get into the details there, but the implications are there that he's doing. He's like, where are we here?
The Mike's gotten out of the being thing. He gets back to the house before the cult. Yeah, it's just yeah, we finally actually get to the point where Targo gets his hand ripped off and he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we get yeah, and then yeah, this is the point where they're finally killing the main guys. I think Torgo actually runs off after to rip his hand off, so it's
Yeah, he just
who
runs
knows.
like yeah, his hands
This
on
doesn't
fire.
make a lot of sense.
He's not like
Yeah, it
engulfed in
doesn't make
flames. He sounds
yeah, it
alive.
just doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. And then he does kill the first wife after her like sudden conversion to Jesus and cuz
Slaps
she's
him
like,
to
"Oh
death.
yeah, God will stop you." Yeah. Just weak slaps. Um
But at least he's alternating this time. He's going like forehand, backhand, forehand, backhand. Like it's a little more brutal than the pajama slap fight they were having earlier in the movie.
and I think only because he is a man in possession of a larger figure. I think that's all it is.
Yeah.
Like I think
Mm-hmm.
just like he having a larger figure would just be more naturally inclined to give that more. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I don't think it's any fault. Anything. Yeah, no one's doing anything, doing the actresses any favors unless the family that's now tries to run away can't. Margaret trips on stuff. Mike biffs it down the hill.
Sorry, this scene actually made me really angry because like Margaret for the longest time is like, just go on without me, take our daughter or none, and she's like not even hurt or anything. She's just like giving up.
Yeah, she is kind of given. Yeah, for clarification, she
I
falls, breaks her ankle. Apparently, I guess breaks her ankle, and she just yeah just starts giving up at this point. Which I don't know if that would really appease him, but
I mean technically like she's going for an she's going on vacation. She is wearing high heels, which if you're gonna be sprinting through the desert, don't wear high heels. Yeah, she's just like obviously trying to sacrifice herself, and he's just like, no, come on, we can make it. And I'm like, it's 10 miles through the desert to the nearest phone, and you don't even know if you're running in the right direction. You could just be running deeper into the desert. There's wild animals, a rattlesnake that you took a couple.
Yeah. Yeah, he takes the shot at the rattlesnake. That draws the attention of some cops in the distance who don't go and investigate because they're out in the boonies and people just shoot guns all the time. Which, Texas, I guess.
But like,
So,
they have a really weird way of justifying it. They're like, "Oh, we heard shots off in the distance. We should go investigate." And the other cop's like, "Hold up a second. We hear shots all the time. They can be coming from Mexico for all we know. Let's not do anything about it."
probably not doing his proper cop due diligence here.
Not at all.
So they head back to the house for dumb reasons.
And sorry, they were out already going towards the place, the cops. They were looking for the vehicle because earlier on, the two couples that were making out, or the couple that was making out, pointed them towards where they were supposed to be going to find this family. So they were already heading out that way. And in this scene, they continue driving the same way. They're like, "We're not going to go investigate," and then they keep on going on in the same direction. Like, they don't. For somebody who sat there and shot a whole scene of a car turning around, you'd think they'd be like, "Oh, the police aren't going to go. Let's show them turning around," right? Not, let's show them continuing to drive in the same direction.
Oh, but that would
I don't
take
know.
them outside
It's
of their single spotlight that they can show. So,
that's fair.
yeah, they get back. The family gets back to the house. They do the climax of the film. Mike shoots at the master. We assume because we don't
Mhm.
actually see the gunshots, and then we cut, and we see silhouettes and another couple ladies driving. They take down some of the same turns that the family had come down, and they're driving up to the mysterious house. And then we see clips of the master and the wives, and then the mother Margaret, and then the little girl. And then we see as the two ladies drive up, Michael and comes out and says, "Hello, I'm Michael. I protect the place while the master isn't home." And that,
Yeah.
I'll grant it this, that is a solid gut punch. Like
Mhm.
that is just like devastating failure. That's
Yeah, you're the new Torgo.
almost, and not even quite the new Torgo, because it's like far more cruel. Torgo was clearly a bit crazy and wasn't and was doing
Mhm.
this kind of enthusiastically. He's just doing it, I presume, either to keep his family alive or to keep them from suffering some worse torment, which could be possible. So it's a solid little gut punch, that, and it almost makes it honestly brought the entire movie up a point for me. Like, that is worth an entire point on the scale to me.
Here's what I have to say. Whoever Valley Lodge is, you really need to learn how to, like, give yourself better directions, because apparently people keep on falling off the face of the earth and entering into another dimension every time somebody.
I wouldn't be entirely surprised that Torgo just put up that sign.
Yeah. Or the business itself never existed, and it's a front.
Possible, I suppose.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
get people from out of state or whatever. But yeah, and then they play the song "Forgetting You," which some people might have actually have heard. I recognized it from places. That's not a bad
Oh.
song. Like yeah, I don't know. I've heard it places. I think just as reference,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a nice little song they play at the end.
Well, it's probably better than all the other songs they've played during the movies.
It is, yeah, it's the best song in the movie. But yeah, just that's just a solid little gut punch that the movie should have been working toward that its entire time.
Mhm.
Like, everything should have been in service to that ending, and it just doesn't quite work. Like, they say things about, like, the master having like waning power, that ends up being bullshit from this. Like you should have had like scenes earlier in the movie where the husband's just like, I would do anything for my family and whatnot. And that should have
Yeah,
been his big characterization. It's it's a shame. This is a decent ending on a really
it
bad
is a
movie.
decent ending. And I think, with that being said, that's probably what drove the whole idea that there should be sequels to this movie now that they have better technology and now that they have better
I think
uh
I think they're I
camera
looked it
stuff.
up while we were on break, and I guess they're doing some 2020 thing starring the little girl as like she
Oh,
gets
that's
out at
cool.
some point. I guess that's a thing lying around. I don't know where it is. But yeah. Well, what do you give the movie, Cody?
I think I'd have to say I'm gonna give this probably my lowest score yet. I'm gonna give this a 1. This was
Yeah.
barely a movie. It's the picture in itself wasn't good. The like 1968 or 66, regardless of how early the movie was set, it has a good end premise. It does not have a good build up. The picture's bad. The music's grating. At one point in time, I stopped and said to myself, is somebody playing a fucking recorder in the background?" Like, one thing that I really liked is whenever Torgo seemed to walk, they had a very distinct tune going on, and then when Torgo
Mhm.
stopped, the music stopped, and I'm like, so yeah. Like, with that being said, I don't really think this deserves much more than maybe a 2 at best.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 2 purely for that ending. And that's cuz everything else is a 1. That ending gets it up a point. Because that gives me hope that if the bet had been that Warren had to write a screenplay, and then this had gone put off to an actual director, that this could have been something at least okay. And like if you cut 20 minutes out of this, it's probably at least something passable. Like maybe a 4. But I don't know if this is the worst movie ever made because it had something clever in it. And the props were okay. So
But it is hailed really badly.
what are we going to review next week, Cody?
I don't have any reference to that. Where is our dice?
I accidentally hit the microphone of my Google search thing because I was gonna like Google search, tell it to roll a thing, and it's just it caught me say the words "Do you want to play?" and it brought up the entry for the book "Do you want to play with my balls?" A book by Christopher Cifaldi and Matthew Cifaldi. It appears to be like a parody children's book. So
Uh, okay.
fun
Sorry,
little
I
thing there.
have a lot to unpack here. Uh,
Yeah,
First
I'll
of all,
just
why does it require 2 people to write a children's book?
I think they're
Like, is it
brothers.
a
I would assume.
yeah, but is it like a writer illustrator like package deal type
I mean,
thing,
it's
or is
picture
it
book maybe. It's probably a picture book. It's a
okay?
kids book. Like
Okay,
it looks really skewed young, or at least pseudo skewed
yeah,
young.
I,
All right.
I,
Well, 13. That is Breakfast Club.
nice. I was hoping for that,
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah. You've been wanting to watch this. Maybe not
I
necessarily a
want to
cult film, but
rewatch
something a
it.
lot. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
something that a lot of people have actually watched, so I'm counting it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Breakfast Club next week. I don't really know what to expect.
I do.
We'll see you next week, kids. Hey kids, I'm editor Kyle. I differ from the Kyle you just watched in that I have actually seen the Breakfast Club movie. So yeah, I hope you didn't mind the different recording situation this week. Energy's a little different, but I think we'll work on that. It is the way things are going to happen for the foreseeable future. But so yeah, nothing we can do about it. You can remember to follow us on Twitter at KCCCinemaPod and on Facebook at Kyle and Cody's Cult Classics. And remember to give us those 5-star reviews in iTunes and circulate the links if you feel you like the show. So yeah, Breakfast Club next week, and then after that, I can report that we are returning to our sub theme of the season of Razzie movies that aren't actually that bad. This one's probably going to be another controversial one. Though that's what you can expect. These are all Razzie movies. We are going to do a bit of a mini May the 4th special and do Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So stay tuned for that in 2 weeks. So yeah, that's all I got. After that, we'll be back to random episodes again. Alright, well, that's all I got to say this week. Bye, kids.